Hey everybody, this is On Screen, Off Screen. We like to talk about our weekly media intake and our thoughts on it and how it impacts us. This week I'm going to talk about it's my personal anime episode because that's what I'm talking about. Uh, First one I'm talking about, Dangers in My Heart. I freaking love this show.
Okay.
I cannot recommend it enough. It is absolutely going into my comfort rewatch shows.
Okay.
Uh, it will be one you can just rewatch over and over and over again. It can be a background show. Um, it's so positive. Uh, Once you get past the murder boy thing that I talked about last week,
Yeah.
which is honestly just like an episode, maybe an episode and a half.
Okay.
But once you get past that, you have this middle school boy trying to honorably figure out his feelings, and everything in it is just so relatable, right? Um, and it's just lovable, and if like the feel good nature of it is just great. Like it's just innocent. There's no anime weirdness in it. There's no awfulness to it. There are some like pervy boys, but like it's middle school,
Yeah.
right? Like when I went to middle school, I had a kid in my homeroom class say he was sleeping with my mom every single day, and I wanted to punch him in the face because A, that's not even funny, and B, you ran this joke every single day. Move on from it. And like it's that's just the way it is, and it is so good. It is just so good. It feels good, and it's got such a good, satisfying, positive ending. It doesn't feel like it cops out in any way, and it doesn't go too far, and it just strikes that perfect balance for a feel good, enjoyable show.
Is
It's
it
great.
better than Love is a Battlefield or Love is War?
Love is War. I mean, no, but I wouldn't put Love is War in like a comfort rewatch
Okay.
area, right? Like when I watch Love is War, I'm super entertained by it and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't ever just like turn it on in the background.
That makes sense.
So the quality of Love is War is better,
Okay.
but there is some anime weirdness to Love is War at the same time,
There is. For
right?
sure. For sure.
Whereas like Dangers in My Heart, it's just like, okay, so if I just skip the first two episodes, I can just turn this on and I can be messing around on my phone or cooking and just enjoy the jokes when they come up and just enjoy the positivity and the feel goodness of it.
Do you think Sid would like this show?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
I think you would like this show.
Okay.
Specifically at the end, um, there's this really funny moment where the girl leaves a note that's like, meet us in our spot, right?
Yeah.
And he has this freak out where he's like, where is our spot? So there's this like short little like minute and a half montage of him going to all the wrong places trying to figure out where our spot is, right? Like so relatable, so relatable. And that's just the kind of joke that is in this show, and it's a joke that I think you would get a really good kick out of. Like that is a you joke. That is a it's about time and him having to relive being in the mall level joke for you. Like
Yes. Yes, it is.
it is just right up Conlon's alley, and like no, I don't think that you specifically are just gonna sit and enjoy this show and be at the edge of your seat and just being entertained by this show. But do I think you would enjoy like riding on your bike thing or walking on the treadmill or playing on your phone or playing golf with friends or whatever it is you do or Hades while this show is on? Yeah, I think that's the perfect show for you where you'll get enough of the story and you'll get in on the jokes and you'll love the jokes and then kind of just enjoy the rest of it passively.
All right. What would you give this show a rating with that glowing?
7.5 out of 10.
Okay, okay. I thought it'd be higher, honestly.
Yeah. Like it is positive, but it's like if you were to compare it to like Parks and Rec and The Office,
Yeah.
right? It's like not as good as Parks and Rec, but it's on that level where it's just more consistently positive and good
Okay.
rather than the up and down that is The Office.
Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 It sounds good. I'll give it a
Yeah.
shot. I will give it a shot.
I'll rewatch it, but it's just not like high on my list of rewatches.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It sounds good, man.
it is good. It's very good. Like I said, I love this show, but it does have some problems.
What about your other anime?
My next anime I'll talk about is the Eminence in Shadow finale. I said I was going to finish it. I did finish it. I knew the real world was going to come back around and be more important. I was right on the money.
Okay.
It's set up for season 3. It comes back in the very last episode. The show is amazing. There are times when I enjoy it more than Solo Leveling,
Really?
though more often Solo Leveling is better. So going back to my comparison, uh, this is The Office, and Solo Leveling is Parks and Rec, where Parks and Rec is just way more consistently better, but the highs of Eminence and Shadow are higher than the highs of Solo Leveling.
Dude, that's saying a lot. Some of the highs of Solo Leveling are really good. Like,
They are.
really good.
They are. And if you there's a TikTok that I saw that said top 10 anime sounds ever.
Yeah.
They rated Solo Leveling's fight song as number 5 or
Okay.
4, and Eminence and Shadows I Am Atomic at the very end of the show was number 1.
Okay. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I kind of have to watch that show because that's kind of, Solo Leveling is like my thing. And if there are highs that are higher than that, I gotta watch this.
it's awesome. Like I thoroughly enjoy it. I don't want you to be oversold
Okay.
because realistically, at the end of the day, would I rather watch Solo Leveling or Eminence? The answer is Solo Leveling.
Okay.
Right? I think it's way more consistent. I'd way rather watch Parks and Rec than The Office.
Me too.
I would way rather be regularly entertained than rarely entertained.
Yeah.
Right? Uh, so it's not perfect. It's not the most entertaining. It's not always going to entertain you. But when it hits, it can hit real hard and very very well.
I see on your notes that Solo Leveling is a better thought out show. What do you mean there?
Just that, like Solo Leveling feels like every single thing is world building or story building or entertaining,
Oh, like nothing is
and
wasted
like
space.
there's nothing wasted, and there's a lot in Eminence and Shadow that feels like it's a waste of time.
Okay. Like how much are we talking? 30%, 40%?
10.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah,
That's not too bad.
it's not a bad show. Like I'm really trying to like
Walk the
manage your
line.
expectations,
Yeah.
right? Because like I have to acknowledge, yes, there's some wasted time. I don't feel like ever an entire episode is wasted,
Okay.
but I think that there are some things that are wasted. I also want to acknowledge there's some anime weirdness in this show,
Okay.
right? There just is. It's worth watching every single episode. There's no like filler episode. There's no like, hey, skip this season or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
It's not
And
a
I
bad
do
thing.
think that there's a chance that they do enough in season 3 to make the stuff that I feel is wasted as maybe not wasted.
Okay.
Um, but that's to be seen. We will see what happens with that. if we get to see. They haven't been greenlit for a season 3. There is a movie planned, and they are hoping for a season 3 and 4 after that. But the only thing that is guaranteed or almost guaranteed at this point is the movie. So we'll see what that yields and what happens.
It's interesting that I don't think I would have heard of this show if you didn't recommend it, because I've watched Solo Leveling twice at this point, and I don't think it's popped up on my Crunchyroll at all.
It's not on Crunchyroll, and I think that's the problem.
Oh yeah, you told me that. You told
So
me
if
that.
you look at my very next note, I think the ending of this was very good, and I think if it had Crunchyroll's backing, it would be more popular. But the fact that it's only on High Dive is what is dragging it down. Because what even is that? And like, I pay $40 for a year of access to it. That's how sad that platform is.
And unless you are a die-hard anime fan, you're not getting High Dive. You're just not. Especially with how much anime is on Crunchyroll. There's so much anime on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I only got it for Eminence and Shadow, and it's because season 1 had just come out and it
Right.
was getting some popularity at the time.
Did you find out about this on like TikTok or something? How did you find out about this? Okay, cool.
Somewhere on social media. I don't know where it was, but if you watch the opening episode of Eminence and Shadow, that was basically what I knew about the show going into it.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'll still try it. I'll still try it.
Okay.
What would
What do
you
you got for us? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna ask what would you rate it before I go to my topic?
A generous 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Like, I know I'm saying that a lot today, but it's like for me, 8 means like I would very easily rewatch this.
And seven
And
and a half.
everything we've talked about today, I'm like, I would be tempted to occasionally,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't like regularly or easily. It's not like a psych to me where I can just easily be like, put that show on. I can watch that. Uh, so that's where I'm landing on all of these things, and I feel like a 7 is too low to be like, okay, yeah. So that's where I landed, 7.5.
I have no idea why this made me think of this. I know we both like Chuck, but what would you rate Chuck?
8.5 out of 10.
Okay. Okay, that's where I am too.
I would very easily turn Chuck back on, but only the first couple of seasons.
The last part's rough. The last part is rough.
And so it's like, okay, so I was very like, the first season was probably like a 9 out of 10, and the last season is probably like a 6 out of 10. But you don't actually have to watch it to enjoy the show, so that's kind of where I'd land, where it's like, yeah, I would easily turn that show back on,
Okay. Me too. Me
but
too.
I wouldn't easily turn on any part of the show, so I'm landing on about an 8.5.
All right. My first topic is I'm afraid you have dragons. Have you ever heard of The Last Unicorn? I'm sure you heard of that.
Yes.
Okay. The guy wrote that forever ago, and this was his follow-up book after a really long time. And I don't remember The Last Unicorn, but I remember when I was a kid that I really liked that book.
I'm glad you did.
But I don't remember
I've
it.
never read it, but I heard the synopsis and I remember thinking that that sounded too kiddish for me.
I mean, I was a kid when I read it for the first time.
I was a kid when I heard about it.
Oh, really? You were like, nah.
But I was that kid. I was that kid that was too cool for kid things, so that doesn't really speak anything to it.
Fair enough. This one is interesting. Daniel Green is another reviewer, and I watched his review of it, and he was like, it's like if you mixed Princess Bride with Dragonheart. And I think that's a really good representation of the book. It is definitely made for younger audiences. I think if I would have read this when I was like third grade, fourth grade, maybe fifth grade, that this would be one of my like all-time favorite books. Nostalgia, absolutely love it. I was just a little too old for it, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. The other negative that I have of the book before I go into like what it's about is Travis Baldree. He does the narration of the book for the audiobook. He's the one who reads Primal Hunter. He reads another one of my favorite lit RPGs called Necrotic Apocalypse. That's very good. He's a good reader. He has his own book called Legends and Lattes. That's a pretty good book. He does a good job with the reading. I don't think he's very good in this book. The way that I'm afraid you have dragons is structured is that you are following your one main character. So there's this character who is he inherits being a dragon killer from his dad. And the princess character wants to impress the prince that's coming by, and so she hires his services to get rid of the dragon. That's kind of like the start of the book. So you have this character that's going to hunt down the dragons, and you get his thoughts. And then he runs into the princess character, and you kind of just like merge into the princess's thoughts, and she kind of like takes over the story. And then she bounces back to the dragon character, and then the dragon character's thoughts take over the story. Dragon hunter's character's thoughts take over the story. And then he runs into the prince, and it kind of swivels back and forth. Old books used to do this. They don't really do that anymore. His voice isn't distinct enough to tell the difference, and you've had problems where you don't know which character you're following. I usually don't have that problem. I did with this book, where I was like, who are we talking about? Who is thinking this? What is going on? And when you get into the vibe of it, you can tell, you can like read the language, but you don't get it from this guy's voice. I think it would be easier to follow this book if I actually read it versus listening to the story. It's not that complicated, so you can kind of figure it out, but it does ruin a little bit of the enjoyment. The book itself is still very good, and it's cool to go back to kind of a fairy tale epic. They don't write books that are fairy tales very often anymore, and I appreciate that aspect of it. There's a lot of comedy in it. It's very funny. The characters are enjoyable. You have your main character who's a dragon hunter who actually is known as a dragon master. He has the ability to connect with dragons and speak to them on a fundamental level. The fact that he can connect with these dragons gives him the possibility of being higher than a king, of being elevated in the society. But he doesn't want any of that crap. He doesn't want any of that responsibility. He really just wants to be a basic, like he just wants to go and help a prince out and be like a prince's right hand man. But destiny calls him to be something more. And a lot of the aspects of this book are we're born into different privileges, we're born into different lifestyles, we're born into different ways of living, we're called to different things. And can you be more than that calling? Can you choose to be something different? You have the prince character who really doesn't want to be the king. He's kind of the there's two people who are called to be something more, but are forced with a position upon them. And the prince character doesn't think that he's very princely, doesn't think he's very strong. He wants to paint pictures, he wants to do artistic kind of stuff, but he's supposed to be the prince, he's supposed to be the king. And he has to deal with the fact that there is more courage inside of him, and how does he deal with that? The princess isn't supposed to read. It's not favorable for women to read during this time period, but she wants to read. She's trying to teach herself, and she's embarrassed by the fact that she's the age that she is and she can't read. And all these different characters come together in a unique, very fairy tale kind of aspect of a way, and they go on this adventure to save the kingdom. It's very much a fairy tale. Because you have each of these characters who have individual wants, it increases the breadth of the story, and it's very enjoyable. But it's also simplistic enough that it comes across as very fourth grade, fifth grade reading level, when I wish some of these concepts were dug into a little bit deeper, because then you could be a fourth grader really enjoying it, or you could be an adult really enjoying it, where instead I'm an adult who I had a good enough time with it, but it wasn't great. Um, and I think that's how I would rate the book. Is it worth reading if you're into that kind of fairy tale aspect? Yes. Is it something that I would recommend to you? Honestly, no, just because of the way the characters track and the way that it switches POVs. I think it would be kind of frustrating for you, to be completely honest. Which sucks because it does have some of that Princess Bride humor and Princess Bride charm that I would love to recommend this book because of. But the writing style is it's a little rough. Honestly, it's a little rough.
Well, you had me sold until you told me that, so there's that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I wanted to recommend this, but if you're going to read it, it is something that I would try reading in a book form because the audiobook it's rough. It's rough to follow.
Well, I mean, like, he's not the best narrator to begin with. I honestly wish Primal Hunter would sign up with the studio that does Dungeon Crawler Carl,
But I mean,
Soundbooth Theater.
that's not really
But
fair because you're marking the greatest of all time, like the number one best ever, versus anyone else. He is the best.
I know. I'm just saying I wish that I'm not saying it was bad.
Oh, me too. Me
I'm
too.
just saying I wish Primal Hunter was narrated by the Soundbooth Theater people. That's all I was saying.
That's fair enough.
It's not like it's bad. It doesn't take me out of it. I think the way he narrates does lead to a lot of confusion, especially between Jake and Jacob and whose POV we're in. I think that already happens in Primal Hunter, but if it's just worse in this book, I think that he's going to accentuate that problem. Um,
It's worse than this book.
yeah, it sounds great. I honestly love middle grade books.
Okay.
Um, Gregor the Overlander, fantastic. Percy Jackson, fantastic. Like that is such a great area to explore writing and reading because it's never going to be gross or disgusting. It's never going to cross any lines. It's always going to be
Wholesome.
wholesome and good. So, like, it's a great way to go find stories. And some of them stand the test of time, and some of them are good enough that the age range doesn't matter. It sounds like this one, it doesn't quite exceed that. Like, I listened to Fablehaven for the first time when I was 26, right? But it was still, even though it was written for kids, it was still so enjoyable, especially after the first book, uh, that it was good enough, right? Percy Jackson's a little bit more like nostalgia, probably plays a role there. Uh, Gregor the Overlander, some of it's nostalgia, some of it was for the first time. So, like, middle grade books that can be entertaining for adults, rare, but are so good.
Yeah.
Like, I love them, and it sounds like this one just doesn't hit that.
It's entertaining enough because it does have some comedy. I genuinely wish I could give a review having just read the book because the audiobook really I usually don't think that's a detriment for me with most books. For this one, I genuinely think it was.
So, what would you rate this one on a scale of 1 to 10?
7.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Like
With that,
enjoyable enough.
with that, let's go ahead and hit our shared topic for this episode.
Okay. I thought
Bonhoeffer. I don't know how to say it.
Bonhoeffer.
Go ahead.
I thought this was an enjoyable movie overall. I liked the thoughts that it provoked. The idea of the church being corrupted was actually what I found most interesting. Of like turning Adolf Hitler into a second coming of Christ kind of character was very, very interesting aspect of the story. I don't know how real that part is, but I thought it was interesting. Um, because of this story, I am deciding to read a book that is written about spies that were within the Catholic Church during the time of Hitler. And the more I dig into it, the more I find this fascinating, and the more that I wish that they had applied some of the spy aspects a little bit better in this movie, but they don't. They, it's fairly shallow overall. Enjoyable enough movie, pretty good. That's kind of where I was. What do you think?
I love this movie.
Okay, okay,
I thought it was very well made. I don't have any real big complaints about it, honestly. Uh, First note I have is that the side note, the first song that is in the credits, made it on my playlist. That rarely happens.
that's awesome.
It was a great song. Freaking love it. Historically, not accurate. Not at all. I don't even think this thing says based on a true story at the beginning of it. That's how far they've taken it.
I can't remember.
I can't remember for sure either, but I don't think they do. If they did, they should take that out because it's not. Was this a real person? Yes. Did you represent his actions? No. Did you represent his beliefs? No. Did you represent anything he stood for? No. So yeah, things like did Hitler change the Bible and church teachings? Yes, he did. Did he outlaw anything Jewish? Yes, but did he take Jewish names out of the Bible? No, he just kind of more manipulated it. Um, so they implied that it went further than history actually did, but he did do it. Um, all that being said, I think it still did a good job of representing the questions that Bonhoeffer stood for in reality.
Okay.
Right? So in the show, he goes through this stuff and he has to balance religion and what is courage? What is the role of religion? Where do we stand with God and ourselves in general in society? What does it mean when your church changes? Right? So I saw one review of this show after I watched it where somebody was calling out the Catholic Church for being anti gay and now pro gay, and how we should stand against the change of gayness. And that was just ridiculous. I don't, but he was pointing out that difference in how this show says you should not stand for that change. But you're supposed to ask yourself those questions. And I think this show does make you think that way, right? Does religion bow down to anything? Should religion bow down to anything? Um, we often think of what happened to the Jews and not often about what the Christian church and how it was used during World War II and what Hitler used it for. And that is all very interesting, good stuff. And I think asking yourself those questions is very important. Like we come from an LDS background,
Yeah,
and like the church has made changes in that time,
absolutely it has. Absolutely.
right? We can go as simple as its approach to soda, right? For the longest time, no Mountain Dew. And then one day in like 2012, the prophet was like, yeah, you can have soda, but not coffee or tea. And then suddenly you could get a Mountain Dew at a BYU football game and everybody was excited about it. Like
Yep.
it's definitely changed. And what do those changes mean? And all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting point of view. And while again, the history was not very accurate because Bonhoeffer in real life was this very steadfast person. He never hid his religious beliefs, he was always outwardly spoken about them,
Okay.
right? And his involvement in the assassination attempt shown in Valkyrie, while not nothing, was a whole lot less than what the shows did.
Okay.
In real life, He just kind of put two people in contact with each other about making the bomb. He had
Right.
no role or even knew that a bomb was being made.
Hmm.
He was just like, you two should talk to each other about that. Not my thing, right? He was tied to it. There was a reason he was one of the 5,000 executed for doing that. But, like, was his involvement to be an assassin or a spy? No, it was not. He was a preacher through and through to the end, and he was very steadfast. And uh, I think if you actually look into his beliefs and what he preached and stuff, a lot of people, I forget what the religion is called, but a lot of people in that religion probably wouldn't be too happy with him.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
but like he never changed or hid what he believed or anything like that. So history not accurate at all. But I think all the questions that the people in the Christian religion were having to face during that time, it does make you ask about today. And I think that's the point. And I think it does a great job at that.
The questions were very interesting. And like, do you sell yourself out to get more people in the pews? Do you fill out the pews by going to whatever popular message is going on at that particular time? It's an interesting aspect.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, overall, I enjoyed the movie. Is it one I will probably watch again? Honestly, no, but enjoyable enough.
Yeah. I probably won't rewatch it again either. It goes in my I probably wouldn't be opposed to rewatching kind of section.
It's a solid 6.5 for me. Like, if you wanted to
Uh,
watch it, I would watch it, but
that's what I was going to say too.
otherwise, now.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it's a interesting enough movie that did make me want to look into the history more, which is a good thing.
yeah. The history is super interesting. I love history. I think it's the most valuable thing.
Yeah,
It's always a good thing.
it's always a good thing.
I'm really happy I watched it once. It's just not something I don't. I think I would rewatch. If you haven't seen it, I would say watch it.
Or like, there's a lot of books about the time period. You can read one of those if you want to do that.
Oh, I think the movie's good enough that if you haven't watched it and you like history, like it. Like I said, I think it. Even though the history itself isn't represented well, the questions and stuff that people were struggling with at the time are represented. So the morals of the history accuracy was spot on, even though the historical events weren't. If that makes any sense at all, it makes sense in my head.
It makes sense. I get where you're coming from. The book that I'm reading is called Church of Spies, and it basically goes into the Catholic Church being spies and how the one of the head popes was best friends with the head of the police department. What were their names for the German side of things? I don't know. I can't remember their names. The SS.
Oh, the
Yeah,
like secret police.
yeah, the secret police. He
SS.
was. They were best friends, and he would basically spill secrets to this pope who was a spy for the other side, and all the pressures that the church was under. Like, it goes into all of these questions, and I where you have the historical accuracy, I like it a little bit better. But I also understand if you don't want to read a fairly large book and just want to watch a 2 hour movie and get kind of the same questions, that's totally fine.
Well, like, yeah, I'm sure the book is better, right? But it's not one or the other, right?
Yeah,
Like I can recommend the book and the movie.
yeah,
I can't recommend the book because I haven't read it, but that's just where I'm at. It's like, hey, yeah, people who are listening to this, you haven't watched it, give it a shot. Why not?
give it a shot. Sure,
It's like less than 2 hours. Like it's
give
not
it a
that
shot.
much time. Just give it a shot. Why not?
Cool.
Well, I think that is it for this episode. Thank you, anybody, for watching, listening. Please like and subscribe. Helps us out a lot. Really excited with where we are at. Let's keep it going.
See you guys.